Joining us right now, political pundit extraordinaire and contributor at LifeZet. Is that the official title?
Senior political reporter.
Thank you for that. Senior political reporter at LifeZet.com. You know her from her Fox News hits. She's Ashley Pratte. But even more importantly, you're a St. Anselm College alum. That's where the debate took place. So you know New Hampshire pretty well. You grew up here.
I grew up here, lived here for 24 years. My parents are still here in Manchester and graduated from St. A's in 2011. Special place in my heart for the Granite State.
So in your expert opinion, you know, a lot of your partners there in the pundit circles think that Marco Rubio was really damaged by this debate. Do you agree? Will Granite Staters actually hold it against him that he was sort of using talking points over and over again?
Well, it's interesting. I think he's had a very strong ground game here, and that's something, you know, it's a force to be reckoned with. He's been shaking the hands of every single attendee at his rallies, and that's something the other candidates are not doing. But at the same time, I do think the debate performance will impact his standings here in New Hampshire. He was polling in second. New polling is showing that he's maybe slipping to fourth. So it just really depends on that undecided group of voters and whether or not they turn out, and if they turn out for Marco Rubio. There have been quite a few undecideds that I've talked to who have gone to his rallies and said as a result of going, they would vote for him.
Really quick follow-up here. You said the ground game's important. We heard that so much in Iowa, but that made sense because it's a caucus, and you got to get people out there, and you got to make sure that they leave their home and get to the caucus place at the right place at the right time. This is a primary. People can vote all day long. They will be voting all day long. It's just like voting in any election. You just stop, you get it done, and you go to work or you do it on the way home. How does a ground game work here?
Right, but the intrigue of New Hampshire is certainly different than Iowa in the sense that you can go into your local diner any day of the week before the primary and you can run into a candidate. The other night I went to the back room in Manchester, so any local person would know what that is, and Hillary Clinton was there. You can go to Murphy's in downtown Manchester. Jeb Bush is there watching the Super Bowl.
So the ground game is not about getting out the vote. The ground game is about being on the ground and meeting with voters in intimate places.
It's the number of visits, it's the handshakes, it's not the ads, it's not the phone calls, it's not really even get out the vote. It's the amount of events and visits that you have here in the Granite State that is so special to the voters that are here.
All right, Ashley, so look, I've seen several polls, and if you look at a poll, it depends on which poll you look at. Some show Bush coming in second, some show Kasich coming in second, some show Rubio coming in second. I mean, it's clear Donald Trump probably will win this thing, but who comes in second is not unimportant to the electorate. How do you see it coming down?
I think it's honestly who's in the top four that will be important going into South Carolina. Obviously, number one will be Donald Trump. Poll after poll is showing that here in New Hampshire. But you're right, that second place is the one that's really going to be the one to watch for tonight. But it really is going to come down to Rubio, Christie, Kasich, and Bush. And the fact that they are going to split the vote among each other and probably give Trump a more significant lead than he thinks he will have here.
Well, and that's sort of my follow-up question here. If you add the numbers in this Emerson poll, which just came out, of Bush, Kasich, and Rubio, it would be 41% of the vote. Is there talk there in New Hampshire among some who want to support that type of candidate to say, you know what, we need to back one horse?
Correct, and that's what you end up seeing here. New Hampshire has a tradition of really wanting to pick the person they think will get the party's nomination. So at the end of the day, while you might like Carly Fiorina, you're going to go with a safe bet, as in someone you think can, go on to South Carolina and go on to win the party's nomination. And that's what makes us very different than Iowa. Iowa picks for Iowa values, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but New Hampshire really looks ahead to the whole state of the race and thinks ahead to the general election.
Iowa picks corn, New Hampshire
that
picks
is the famous line.
That
is the famous line.
You Granite Staters. All right, so given that and given your understanding of things up here in New Hampshire, you just said it's obvious, is the word you used, that Donald Trump will win. Does that mean he'll be the nominee?
I really don't know at this point.
I thought you picked presidents here.
We do, but I feel like at this point, this election has been such an anomaly, and it has defied all political physics. I mean, Donald Trump has really redefined the game. I interviewed his son, Eric, yesterday, and he said, if there's one takeaway from this whole campaign, it's that I think there should be a case study done on my father's race. Now, he might be a little biased, but it's true. He has really kind of redefined the whole ground game operation here in the sense that he doesn't really do the retail politics. He does large rallies, which you typically don't see until the general election. So I think he's breaking the model of those traditional town halls. He did do a couple, but I mean, other candidates are doing 3 or 4 town halls a day. And you get obviously that one-on-one with the voter, which is so very, very important here, and that can really sway undecideds when they go into the voting booth.
All right. So what will you be looking for? When the results start coming in, is there a region that you're watching?
Well, based on what I know, the Seacoast traditionally swings very, very Republican. Now, back in 2012, we had an issue here in the Granite State because we do have same-day registration when it comes to voting, and that sometimes can play a large role and have a very different impact here than it should. And Obama really turned out the vote in the Seacoast area. Now, one could assume that because UNH is in the Seacoast area, there's a lot of college students. So if the Democrats are in large forces out there and Bernie Sanders is really part of this so-called political revolution, he could have UNH canvass to the point that they could go out and swing the Seacoast blue instead of red.
Wow.
And that's something to definitely look out for. It happened to Romney in 2012. Right. And again, something to watch out for tonight.
She is a D.C. pundit, and she's the senior political editor at LifeZet, but she's also a New Hampshire native and a Granite Stater, so she knows her stuff. Ashley Pratte, thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much.
It's